To all the haters, you fucking dumb pieces of shit could have been part of this. You could have been part of this. I'm libbing out today, chat. This is libbing out. This is lib out day. This is good vibes day. Let's start it off, chat, with Crystal Ball quoting Hassan last night.
So there you have it. Hassan Piker telling Andrew Cuomo to suck his whole dick from the back, I believe was the quote specifically.
Okay, I'll be there.
One of the things that's really funny is Hassan Piker and I, and pretty much all the people of the online left that are the dirtbag leftists. Zohran Mamdani is exactly the candidate we've been calling for. And his victory as a 33-year-old man, I want you to understand something, chat. He won this election. He won the Bronx. He won Queens. He won Asian residents, Black residents, Hispanic residents. This was a completely total refutation of the Democratic Party establishment. This was a defeat of the combined strength of billionaires, the Republican establishment, the Democratic establishment by a 33-year-old Muslim immigrant. And it was a majority. It wasn't close. They burned tens of millions of dollars. And most importantly, exit polling of young men in New York City, plus 40 Mamdani. I don't think you guys understand just how big of a win this would have been. If it had been Sliwa versus Mamdani, we are looking at 75%. They had to run Cuomo. It was everybody from Hillary Clinton to Trump was behind Cuomo. And my politics, your politics, Hassan's politics, we absolutely crushed them all. So it's a moment of complete vindication. We have won the election. We crushed them. And the other thing I want to say, I'm going to say something that's going to surprise a lot of you, but it is objectively true. Andrew Cuomo ran a very, very strong campaign. 854,000 votes it would have won any other year. I think this might be like the third most someone's ever gotten for mayor. So not only if anybody being like, oh, Andrew Cuomo was weak, Andrew Cuomo united the Republican and Democratic Party establishment. He got tens of millions of dollars from billionaires. He had the leader of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, stayed neutral in his hometown. Hillary Clinton, the former senator and Democratic nominee for president, stayed neutral. Barack Obama, former Democratic president, stayed neutral. Cuomo, I hate his ass, but he ran a very strong campaign. And the reality of that is we kicked his ass anyway. It wasn't even fucking close. We brought hundreds of thousands of people out onto the polls who had never voted in a mayoral election before. We kicked both parties' asses. We beat the billionaires' asses in their hometown. And most funnily enough, and this is something I tweeted last night, the socialists won the fucking financial district in Manhattan. So when they're strolling around, the janitors, the housekeepers, the secretaries, the executive assistants, the people that work in the financial district and live in the financial district, they are voting for Zohran Mamdani. Look over your shoulder, Bill. That is the mandate. And anybody yelling at Sliwa not being in the race wouldn't have mattered. You could give every single vote to Sliwa to Cuomo and he still would have lost. You could have given every other candidate's votes to Cuomo and he still would have lost. Fortunately, that's not how politics works.
Curtis?
I'll send it to him because he yelled at me today.
Good. Hey, Curtis, you're a fucking scumbag like I said all along, all these months. You fucking got 8% of the vote. You split the fucking vote for the $7 million. You were a scumbag. I hope every New Yorker spits in your fucking face every single day. You fucking sold out like fucking Judas sold out fucking Jesus for the 30 fucking coins of silver. Go fuck yourself.
In what way did he sell out? Selling out would have been dropping out. Say what you want about Sliwa. He didn't sell out. You wanted him to sell out. He didn't, but it didn't matter. And this is what I think I got wrong about this election is that if you're like, Mike, what were you wrong about? The thing I was most wrong about was the amount of Republicans who voted for Cuomo. I didn't think Sliwa would fall off this hard. He massively underperformed his polls. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is surprising to me. And I wasn't surprised that almost no one voted for Adams, because that's how it works. People don't vote for people that have dropped out. Like, they really actually don't do that. It's pretty rare. So getting 0.3% of the vote, that was fucking meaningless. Sliwa fell off a cliff. Do you have any concerns or insights about Mamdani not attaining 56%? The answer is, quite frankly, I think the thing that I would say is Cuomo performed better than I expected, but still far below what was necessary to make it a close race. So I would say that Cuomo performed better because Sliwa also underperformed what I expected. And overall, there may have been a little bit of, you have to understand the actual size of the electorate is so large. Numbers, swings that big are, you know, polling errors that big in general elections don't tend to happen. So we may have gotten a little bit overexcited. This is a really good result, by the way. I don't want you to think that, oh, this is under what you thought he was going to do, therefore that's bad. No, this is a really good result. This is a really good result. And I think a lot of Republicans came out. I think that what I was surprised about was the amount of Republicans that showed up. I think I was surprised at how many people showed up in places like Staten Island. I think turnout was higher in Staten Island than I thought it would be. And I was surprised by how many Republicans voted for Cuomo. I thought Staten Island was going to be closer, and it was not close at all. And so the Trump endorsement worked. That's the thing I would say is, like, I think people really underestimated the Trump endorsement. It mattered more than I thought it would among Republicans. Like, they listened to Trump, they voted for Cuomo, and they showed up. The only reason Zohran won is because he was a generational talent. Breaking 1 million votes is insane. If Sliwa had dropped out, it would have been very close. Period. It would have been close. I would say about half of Sliwa voters would have gone to Cuomo. Maybe 10% of them would have went to Mamdani, and the rest would have stayed home. So Zohran probably wins 52-ish, but it would have been closer. 48, 52, a little bit something like that. He didn't spoil, but he helped make the gap bigger. On your marks, get set, Zo. Socialist Mamdani wins the race for mayor. I'm libbing out today, chat. This is libbing out. This is lib out day. This is good vibes day. You know, we've talked about this a lot before, but all of this goes back to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders winning a mayor's race in Burlington, Vermont by 10 votes. Here we go. Bernie Sanders winning the mayoral race by 10 votes. And notice how there's no Republican on this ballot. Just like Bernie Sanders, Zohran Mamdani had to take on both the Republicans and the Democrats. When he ran for Congress, what happened in the past is going to happen again. When Bernie Sanders ran for Congress, he had to run against the Republican and the Democrats. And in fact, the Republican won because the centrist Democrat split the vote. And when Bernie Sanders finally won, he had to beat the Democrats and Republicans. This is how it always goes. When he ran for re-election in ID2, he had to beat the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democratic Party would rather lose to Republicans than allow a left-wing candidate, even a moderate social democrat, win. And I want you to understand something, chat. That's how it always is. And they hate when a left-wing candidate is even more popular. In 2012, Bernie Sanders got 71% of the vote for Senate. That outperformed Barack Obama, both percentage-wise and raw votes. Do you know how unheard of that is? And when Bernie Sanders and Barack Obama were on the ballot, Bernie Sanders outperformed him by, he got 66% of the vote. That's not a small vote. Bernie Sanders got 71%, and he got 8,000 more votes in Vermont. The Democratic Party hates the left. They despise the left. And when the left is more popular than their milquetoast centrism, they hate us even more. Here's the reality, chat. For us to win, it's going to be a process of dismantling the Democratic Party establishment. They refuse. They want to put us on death ground. So be it. So fucking be it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a presidential frontrunner coming up to our streamer at a victory party for New York City mayor, the most important municipal election, where we were one of the key catalysts of getting Mamdani off the ground. This is the reality that we're in. And I just want to say something to all the haters. You fucking dumb pieces of shit could have been part of this. You could have been part of this. And I'm going to shut you out. Everywhere you try to pop up, I'm going to be there to point and laugh. When the moment was there, you tried to join the fuck Hassan, fuck Mike bandwagon for clout.
And I did already bring this up during the election cycle as well, where I was like, no, he's just saying defund the police, but he's just describing what it is instead of saying defund the police. It's no different than when he says Israel has a right to exist, not as a Jewish state, not as an ethno state, but as a state with equal rights and equal representation for all people that live there. That is literally not reversal from his previous position. That is a one-state solution.
That is an anti-Zionist take. If you say Israel can only exist with equal rights for all, that's anti-Zionism. If you say, I'm going to not decrease the I'm going to keep the New York City budget the same, that's a cut, dummy. That's how Republicans have cut the budget of the government for the last 30 years. They say, oh, we're not going to cut funding for universities. We'll just keep it flat. And then after 10 years of inflation, the power of compound interest makes that a cut. It's how you cut, by tricking people. It's the oldest trick in the book. So if somebody's like, oh man, he doesn't want to, he's defunding the cops. He's literally doing it. He's just using their tricks. He's using conservative dog whistles against them. You're supposed to be these smart, politically engaged people. You're supposed to understand when somebody dog whistles you. That's what a dog whistle is. A dog whistle is something that only you can hear because you're tapped in. You're supposed to be smart. You're supposed to hear him dog whistling and going, fuck yeah, he's dog whistling for me. He's dog whistling, defund the police. He's dog whistling one state solution. That's for me. Yay, that's one of my people. You're not supposed to go, oh my God, I can't believe he's dog whistling. That's a side he's betraying me. No, you dumb piece of shit. He's saying, I'm going to defund the police. He's saying, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu. He says, I don't think Israel has a right to exist. But he's saying it in a way that normies will hear and go, you know, that makes sense to me. So now the new position of these people is, not only do you have to support my position, you have to argue it in a way that is the least persuasive way possible. It doesn't matter. You are no different than a liberal. You're no different than a liberal. I don't care what you actually believe. I care about what you say. I don't care about what you do. I care about how you say it. You have to sell it in the most crusty, anarchist, online, book club, Marxist way. You can't sell it in a way normies are going to hear and like. Are you stupid? Like, this is one of those things where it's like, I am not a messaging guy. I'm a policy guy. So when Zohran says Israel has a right to exist as long as it's a state with equal rights, he's saying to everybody, the Jewish supremacist Zionist state of Israel is illegal, and I don't support its right to exist. But he's saying it in a way that focuses on the injustices of what Israel is. It doesn't fall into their traps. He's putting a trap out for them. Now they have to say why that's wrong. How do they say why that's wrong, chat? They have to say how, oh no, Arabs shouldn't have equal rights. Now every normie is like, whoa, that's fucking racist. Now the Israelis have to do some fucking convoluted explanation of the nature of Israel, which is putting them on a position where they lose. Don't you understand how this works, you dumb, crusty fuck? Jesus Christ. If he was saying, I support Israel as a Zionist state, well, then I'd be yelling at him. But he's not saying that.
What is wrong with you? Just read between the fucking lines. Some of you guys are such dullards, bro. I swear to God. He's just reframing his position in a way that is more appropriate for liberal consciousness and liberal audiences. I hope he wins, of course, but there's no triangulation that ever will get the NYPD on their side. Yes, I know he knows that. Come on. We all know that. He knows it too. I think he's trying to avoid assassination. And I don't mean character assassination. I mean literal assassination.
He's also trying to avoid a blue flu, a mutiny. You think if he goes into office and the new NYPD mutinies, you think Donald Trump is gonna say, I'm sorry, NYPD guys, that is your elected mayor, and you are armed stewards of the state. And so in order for us to have a healthy democracy, you must bow down to your civilian overlords. You think Donald Trump is gonna step up? You think Kathy Hochul is gonna step up and go, the NYPD is mutinous? Think that's what's gonna happen? He needs to get in there and install his leaders and his reformers in positions of power. There has to be a little bit of subtlety. A lot of people believe that victory is achieved by the stridency of your opinion. That is not the case. Many strident and believing anarchists and communists have been executed, and Marx did not do a divine intervention and steer the bullets away from their chests. Jesus. All right, chat. I feel like time is now for us to review Zohran's victory speech.
And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism. Where the more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong. Not just in the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power. No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election.
One of the things that I wanna pause and just say before we get too far away from it is that Zohran is an actual socialist leader. One of the things that can happen in the progressive politics is that you get this kind of bureaucratic corruption where a politician just becomes kind of the representative of the bureaucratic class and does nothing to really hold them accountable for performance and kind of just doles out no-show jobs, hands out money and raises, increases headcount, but there's not a focus on actual performance. And what makes the Communist Party of China so different is that they focus relentlessly on performance and merit. So getting into the bureaucracy has privileges. It is a good, it's a nice job or whatever, but you're expected to perform. And what I'm hearing from Zohran and what makes me so excited about him is that he wants to cut so much of the like public-private partnership grifter shit. Like he's getting rid of so many of the like the centrist Democrat ways they steal money. Like they spent billions of dollars on the homelessness crisis in California and they've produced almost no housing with that money. It goes to the homeless nonprofits that gets, chaired by a former centrist, Democrat corrupt official. And they get paid $400,000 a year and they don't do anything with it. And it's just a big organization that just sucks up money and hires every politician's cousin. Zohran looks at that and he says, we should get rid of all that shit. He wants to have the government actually focused on outcomes and performance and getting rid of those public-private partnerships and those meaningless consultants and bring a lot more of that work being done by professional employees of the city. And those city employees be held accountable for performance. Like he actually wants to build a government that works. This is what you see in places like Norway. It's what you see in China, is that there is a relentless focus on eliminating petty corruption. And sometimes corruption is taking bribes, but sometimes corruption is just not doing your job as a government employee. That's a form of corruption as well. And so eliminating corruption, focusing on merit, focusing on getting your job done. Like this is like actual socialist shit, not just this kind of like slimy progressivism that focuses on increasing budgets, but not on performance. He is an actual good government socialist. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the only way we can win. Sometimes I get worried when we're kind of working with progressive politicians is a lot of them are those bureaucratic, slimy people. A lot of the Warrenites are of this type where it's more about the interests of the class of bureaucrats rather than using bureaucrats for the effective governance. And that's where a lot of bloat and corruption happens, especially in blue states. So to see that Zohran is focused not just on like, yeah, we need to spend more money, but also the money we do spend is actually being spent effectively. That's what makes me think he's going to be a really successful leader. I see in him a kind of iron rod that doesn't tolerate corruption. And that is what we need more than anything.
This new age will be defined by a competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. For years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you turn the volume up.
One of the things about Zohran, and I think this is a very important message that I saw Hassan saying, and it's something that I've been saying for years as well, is that part of what will make the left successful is we have to be the party of the anti-Republican. Now that Donald Trump has declared war on Democrats and called them traitors and everything, if we want to win the primary, we need to be the party of the anti-Republican. If we want to appeal to former Trump voters, we don't do it by kissing their ass. We do it by offering a vision, and people will self-persuade. Pandering to the right doesn't work. They just feel more vindicated in their racism and their sexism and their transphobia. Offering an appealing vision is how you get people to change their mind. And confronting the Republican oligarchs is how you discredit them to normies.
We will hold bad landlords to account, because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed.
This is the power of the state. And this is what separates socialist politics from anarchist politics. Socialist politics understands that the state must be co-opted if leftist progress is going to be achieved.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. Together, New York, we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... Let the words we've spoken together, the dreams we've dreamt together, become the agenda we deliver together. New York, this power, it's yours. This city belongs to you. Thank you.
Incredible.